We're live on Facebook. We are live on Band. And are we? We are live on YouTube.
Wow.
Yeah. This is 2 days in a row. 2 days in a row, we have gone live on all three platforms. So that's kind of exciting. So I was just telling Daniel that yesterday I had a kind of a difficult time because, see, if I watch the streams here, we're delayed. But I can see when people post, but I've got to like flip back and forth to 3 different screens. Yeah. And so if you'll watch on Band, I'll kind of flip back and forth between YouTube and Facebook here. But yeah, let us know you're on. If you're on here, it is Thursday, May the 14th, little after 12:30.
What's up, Brian?
We're going to do a lunch and learn. Is that Brian Rock?
Yes.
Brian Rock. Welcome aboard.
And my mother, Teresa.
Oh, Mother Teresa?
And Brooke and Rhonda.
Like, isn't Mother Teresa dead?
Not my mother, Teresa.
Oh, your Mother Teresa. It's not the Catholic Mother Teresa.
No.
It's the Crossroads Mother Teresa.
She's way better.
Yeah. Probably a better cook.
Yeah.
I would say. I don't know. I never had Mother Teresa's cooking, so. Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's good to have you all on board. Let us know if you're on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, let us know. As I shared with you yesterday, I am really kind of hoping that we can maybe convert you all to YouTubers, where you can just go live on YouTube. We are looking into possibly being able to maybe paste the link into Band from YouTube rather than streaming straight to Band. But we're still looking into that and seeing what's going to be best. We've just had a lot of problems with the Band live streams, so that's why we're trying to diversify a little bit. And the more we can drive you toward YouTube, the better experience we can get. But if you go to YouTube and go to our YouTube channel, that is youtube.com/C/Crossroads Church GV. And then if you subscribe to our channel, also right next to the subscribe button is a little bell. And if you'll click that little bell and click all, then you will get notifications of every time we go live, every time we post a video, and that way you'll get notifications just like we do, like we send out to you in Band. Hi, Gwen Larson. Gwen's on Facebook. Very cool. So we got Rhonda and Brooke and Teresa and Brian on Band. We've got Gwen on Facebook. And I'm sitting here promoting YouTube, and there's nobody on YouTube.
Yeah.
So I see how effective my promotions are. Yeah. Anyway, hey, just while we're waiting for folks to jump on, I do want to remind you that we are having an in-person worship service, worship gathering here at 10:30 this Sunday morning. We are very grateful that the county has approved an altered phase 1 plan that includes churches as what they call non-essential businesses, and so we would fall under the 25% of maximum capacity that we can have in our building. And so we are asking you, if you are thinking you're going to come and participate in the live service this coming Sunday, please go to the link. You can go to Church Center, to go to the app, down at the bottom, go over to events, click on our Sunday morning worship gathering, and register for that, so we know who to set seats up for. So what we're planning to do, we haven't done it yet, but what we're planning to do is clear all the seats out of the worship center, and then still use kind of the same format, but we're going to set up seats for each family unit that comes. So if you register for 3 people, we're going to set up 3 seats side by side that will be socially distanced from the other seats around them. And then if there's a family of 4, we'll set up those 4 seats. If there's a family of 2, or if there's individuals, we'll set up single seats so that you're socially distanced. But we really, 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 really need you to do that ASAP. Otherwise, Daniel's not going to be able to be here to help me Saturday. And so if we're getting registrations in on Saturday night, then that means I'm upstairs trying to set those seats up by myself. And at the present time, we've got several people that have registered, but most of them are already all here on Sundays, right?
Right.
And so we have like 5 or 10 people that have registered so far. I know I've heard of a lot more people that want to come, but I really, really need you to click that registration link so that we can set the seats up the way we need to. Otherwise, we'll just leave them the way they are and tell people to pick a seat far away from other people. So please get registered if you have not already. If you're on a ministry team, if you're one of our guest relations team, if you're on our safety and security team, or worship team, our vault team, seems like there was one other I was thinking of. But yeah, if you're on one of those teams and you know you're already going to be here anyway, we still need you to register, because more than likely you're going to sit down, and we need to make sure we've got we don't go over the limit on those capacities, the 25% capacities. Right now, it's just not even a problem at all. But we want to plan well so that you feel safe and secure when you get here. All good? Anything else I forgot on that?
I don't think so.
Okay, cool. Well, yesterday we talked about your AQ, which is your adversity quotient. And an adversity quotient is defined as this. It's the precise, measurable, unconscious pattern of how we respond to adversity, how we respond to trials, how we respond to tribulation, how we respond to struggles, how we respond to pandemics. And so your AQ is the precise, measurable, unconscious pattern of how we respond to those adversities. And we can strengthen our AQ by working on our core. And so we're going to look at what that core is today. That stands for CORE, stands for control, ownership, reach, and endurance. And so if you weren't here yesterday, just like when you take an IQ, an intelligence quotient, there's different levels based on your score. Those, I think, I'm not sure, but I think, one of the low levels of on an IQ test, I think they call it an imbecile. I'm not sure, but I think.
I've been called that a few times.
Yeah, I know we use those terms for the way, but I think that is the technical term for people that score really low on an IQ test, all the way up to genius or higher. I've never been in those brackets before, so I'm not exactly sure what those terms are. But yeah, so there's different levels in an IQ test. Same thing with an AQ. When you're measuring your quotient to respond to adversity, there's 3 different levels. We said 1 are climbers, and they're the people that they're fueled by challenges. They refuse to be insignificant in their work, their relationships. They're dedicated to the lifelong ascent. I mean, think climbing a mountain. We said 35% of the population are climbers. We said 50% of the population are campers. They go for security and stability. They represent what Dr. Stolz calls half-tapped potential. And then there's many quitters. And that would be, so a camper says, we're gonna just wait and camp out until the storm blows over. We're not gonna keep climbing. We're not gonna go back down. We're just gonna kind of maintain status quo. We're gonna be half tapped potential and see what happens here. And then quitters, 15% of the population, they give up on their higher pursuits. They become bitter, depressed, and they destroy people around them. They destroy their homes, and they destroy the organizations they're involved in because they quit. I mean, they don't decide to camp. They decide, I'm going back. Forget it. I'm going back down the mountain. I'm going to quit climbing. So we talked about, that in light of this pandemic. And so as we define AQ, the precise, measurable, unconscious pattern of how we respond to adversity, we strengthen that adversity quotient by working on our core. There's controlling the situation, and there's controlling yourself. So when adversity hits, where do you lose control? When struggles hit, when trials hit, tribulations hit, where do we tend to lose control?
That's a good question.
Is there a good answer for it?
I'm sure there is.
I mean, a lot of times adversity, it's not brought on by yourself.
Right.
This pandemic, it's an adversity. Can you control it?
No.
Yeah, you can't control the situation. And so what about your response? Can you control your response?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So strengthening your core is understanding that first element of control is I can't control the situation. I can only control my response to it. How can we control our response to it? What are some ways?
You hit me with the hard questions.
I know, right? I'm not letting you off easy. You weren't here to help me yesterday, so.
Yeah. Well, I think part of it is keeping tabs and understanding, I guess acknowledging where you're at, acknowledging your responses. I think it's really easy to, when you lose control, part of it is that you just don't acknowledge that you have lost it to begin with. You just pretend and you convince yourself that you're doing the right thing and that you're still completely in control of what you're doing. And first you have to acknowledge that you've lost control.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times when we lose control of the situation, we just lose control of ourselves. Right. And that tends to be our human response. We go, oh no, a pandemic's hit the whole world. Oh no. And we just we just lose it.
Is that your Mickey Mouse voice?
Did it sound like Mickey Mouse?
It wasn't a very good one. If it was.
That wasn't, I wasn't trying to be Mickey Mouse, but yeah. Anyway, see, I appreciate the comic relief when you're here. I watched yesterday's live stream and I go, I am so serious. I am not like that when Daniel's sitting next to me.
I don't let you.
So, oh goodness. But yeah, so we tend to when we can't control the situation, we have a tendency to let go of control of ourselves, and we panic, we worry, we stress, we just lose control. And so the best way to regain control, to work on your core, the best way to regain your control is what? It's a given.
Say that again. I was distracted by Summer's comment.
The best way to regain control of yourself when you can't get control of the situation is to do what? As a follower of Jesus, as someone who is in Christ, how do you regain control?
I think prayer is the first step.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's acknowledging, like you said,
right.
It's acknowledging I'm losing it. It's also acknowledging in prayer, but also in the Word, who is in control. And we've reminded ourselves of that several times, that God is in control. I have memorized this definition because I just absolutely love it. I think maybe one of these days, if you actually listen to me, I still wonder if people listen to me or not, but if you actually listen to me, you may end up memorizing this definition too, because I say it so often. But providence or God's sovereignty is defined as this: knowing that God is in constant care for and absolute rule over all creation for His glory and the good of His people. God is in constant care for, and He's in absolute rule. So God constantly cares for His creation, and He's always in absolute rule. That doesn't mean He doesn't allow things to enter in. He doesn't allow storms. He doesn't allow adversities. He doesn't allow trials to come in. He's not the creator of those trials often, especially if it's a temptation. God doesn't tempt us. The Bible tells us He doesn't tempt us. But He does allow temptation to come into our lives. He allows adversity to come into our lives. And so recognizing, one, I'm out of control, and then number two, He's in control.
Right.
And so that's kind of a combo of the Word and prayer. Well, let's just be honest. It's a combo of being in the Word. It's a combo of being in prayer. It's also a combo of being in community with other people.
Sometimes you don't see it until somebody else points it out.
Yeah, and especially when it's a situation like right now, because our entire culture is screaming, shelter in place, stay at home, isolate. I mean, that's kind of the rhetoric of our culture, and so we do physically, and we should have, and we should physically. Things are beginning to open up now. We want to be safe and secure about that, but also begin to test the waters while we're being safe and secure and following protocols. But the problem is often when we shelter in place, when we isolate physically, we have a tend to isolate emotionally,
right,
and communally, and that's not healthy, because the world does start to fall in on you, doesn't it, when you do that? So the first element's control. The second is ownership. And Stolz, who again wrote the book, I've got it up here, AQ at Work, so your adversity quotient at work, he defines ownership as this: the extent to which you take it upon yourself to improve the situation at hand, regardless of its cause. In other words, what he's saying is, I'm going to own my own response. I'm going to take ownership for my response. He says there's no room for blame. There's no room for victimization. I'm going to own my response. And I don't know. I think we have a tendency to blame our culture for a lot. Yeah. And we have a tendency to blame. My wife has a catchphrase that she uses a lot. She talks about in this day and age. And we talk about that a lot. I use the term our culture. I think we blame a lot of things in our culture because we don't take ownership.
Right. I mean, I think our culture has a part to play in it, mm-hmm. but ultimately, it's your decision whether you follow the culture or not. I mean, so yeah, it originates there in the culture, and there's a lot of cultural changes that have happened over the years that seem really strange, but ultimately it's our choice. Am I going to follow that or not?
Yeah. So I think it is our culture, and I think our culture gets the way it is because we don't own our own responses.
Right.
We don't control ourselves. We don't own our own responses, and so we contribute to a culture that becomes this. You know, if the culture is fearful, and so we blame it on the culture. We feel like we're victims of the culture. It's because we contributed to that culture of fear, or to that culture of not caring, or to that culture of complacency, or whatever it is. It certainly is. It's a part of our culture, but it became a part of our culture because we surrendered to it, and we contributed to it.
Right.
When in reality, I mean, we've been called as followers of Jesus to be countercultural, right? In many ways, if you read Scripture, when Jesus came, he kind of flipped culture upside down. I mean, everything that was up became down, and everything that was high became low. And he even talked about that. You know, in order to gain your life, you've got to lose it. He that wants to be, first has to be last. And so he called us. He came. The Son of Man came not to be ministered to, but to minister, but to serve, and to give his life a ransom for many. The King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, the one who should have everyone serving at his feet, became a servant and became obedient unto death. So control and ownership. There's no room for blame. There's no room for victimization if you're going to strengthen your core. You've got to own your own response. He said this: blame is irrelevant. Learning and ascending together are crucial to your success. Coming alongside of others and ascending together. Let's learn from what's happening to us, and let's climb together. Which is a good plug for discipleship.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think, again, in our culture, we are, whether it comes to politics, whether it comes to, and all these things are politicized, but politics, healthcare, the way people live their life, the way people think, we've been so polarized in a lot of areas that everything becomes a blame game.
Yeah.
Of I'm right, you're wrong. You don't know what you're talking about, but I do, and it's become so just disunifying that it even bleeds into the church. That just. It's really easy to say, you wronged me, now I have the right to be mad at you and treat you this way.
Yeah.
And that's where it's so true that blame is irrelevant. It doesn't matter. It matters, but our response is what matters most. Whether Daryl offends me in some way or not, what he did does matter, but what matters most is that is reconciled. And that's that learning and ascending together, because I guarantee you 95% of the time when somebody is offended, it's over miscommunication. Most people, one, don't have the guts to just straight up say, you're stupid, or something like that,
Which is probably good.
Which is probably good,
people,
yes.
Yeah.
But I'll say something in goodwill, but you take it as me saying, you're stupid.
Yeah.
And it's really just a miscommunication. And that's where that learning and ascending together. It's not about who's right and who's wrong. It's about being unified. It's about loving each other, and it's about growing in Christ together, even through those miscommunications, even through those offenses. It's never about who's to blame. It's about how can we learn and grow stronger in Christ through those situations. So
yeah, that's good. That's good. So we've got, in strengthening our core, we've got control, realizing when we can't control the situation, we still can control ourselves. We've got reach. We've got ownership, is not blaming, not becoming a victim, but owning the situation, owning my part in the situation. The third is reach. And this is defined as how far do you let adversity in one area of your life go into the other areas of your work and your life. I think this one's huge. I think this one's really, really practical, and probably because it's really, really personal for me. One of my weakest areas when it comes to strengthening my core is reach. When I have a problem in this area, I have a tendency to let it affect every other area of my life, and it made life really hard for my family, for my marriage. Early on, Sharon and I share this testimony often, but when I would come home and just verbally and emotionally destroy my wife, my small children. When I would be at the office and things weren't going right, somebody was chewing me out, or somebody was ripping me up, or somebody was gossiping, or there was a problem in the church that I couldn't fix fast, and I would get home. When I couldn't control things at work, I had a tendency to come home and try to control things at home, and I would just, for me it was about a clean house. It was about toys being out. It was about shoes being out, and my 3 small children were sitting at home. Mom had been building me up all day, building them up to anticipation for when Daddy gets home, and I'd walk in and I'd be upset, and I'd just go, "Why are these shoes here? What is this? What is this? Why?" I would just start ripping into things, not even thinking. And finally, my wife learned what was going on. She learned how to read that situation through a lot of prayer and submission, and not take it personally. And she'd look at me and she'd go, "What happened today?" And we learned how to begin to deal with that. But that was because I would let adversity in one area of my life go into all the other areas of work and life. The larger the problem appears, the greater its potential to induce fear and helplessness and apathy and inaction. And sometimes we have a tendency to let self-fulfilling prophecy come to life in our lives very dramatically, because we feel this pressure in this area and we just pronounce doom all over all other areas. We just kind of quit and give up.
Right.
Can you think of an example where maybe you've seen that happen in your own life, or an example that maybe you've seen, without naming any names, where where people have some they have a
I'm naming names.
they have a problem in their personal life, and they just quit everything else.
I got lots of those. You're all in trouble. Yeah, I mean, I've done it, and still do sometimes. Stress has a definite toll that it takes on you, and it's hard. It's hard to separate those things, whether it's work or whatever it may be. It's hard to separate those things from home, and separate those things from your social life, and in some aspects, I think it's impossible to not bring some stuff home, because at least in my marriage, I feel like that's where it should go, right?
Right.
But again, it's how we respond to those things. Those things should come home with us, and we should deal with them as a family. But when it just turns into that frustration, that anger, that depression, that anxiety, whatever, and it just bleeds. Those negative effects bleed into the other parts of your life, is where it really becomes a problem. So it's not. I don't believe it's necessary. Like you just got to leave all your problems at home, and compartmentalize all that, and don't ever talk about it. Don't ever bring it home. That's not what we're saying. It's definitely. There's negative aspects of adversity in life that bleed into other parts of your life as well.
Yeah. and that's, again, if you're going to strengthen your core, what we're saying is, when something goes wrong in one area of your life, you can't crawl in bed and pull the covers up and just pretend that life doesn't exist.
Right.
That's going to leave you fat and flabby. Your core is not going to be strengthened. How far do you let those problems reach in? How far in your area in your life do you let adversity reach in and take hold and take control? And then the last, and we've got to rush this one, but the last one is endurance. So control, ownership, reach, and endurance. How long one perceives the adversity will endure. How long? How long is this adversity going to endure? And again, in light of this pandemic, man, we're already hearing, we're already saying that, life is forever changed. There's going to be a new normal. We'll never see the old normal again. In some ways I go, I kind of doubt that. We easily move on in our culture. But yet at the same time, I'm hopeful maybe not. I'm hopeful that we don't go back to normal, because I think normal wasn't working for most of us.
Right.
So he says this: those with higher AQs, those with higher adversity quotients, possess an almost uncanny ability to see past even the most dire circumstances. The ability to look beyond the situation you're in order to see a better future. Now, as Christians, we all have that. As followers of Jesus, as people who are in Christ, as we talked about last Sunday, those of us that can look forward to the resurrection of the dead, as Paul said, we've got glory. We are being glorified, and one of these days we're gonna have this perfect glorified body, this perfect glorified existence, and so we should be able to, in any situation, look beyond the present adversity and endure. And in the Christian realm, we call that hope. Just being able to, we have hope, regardless. I'm becoming a broken record on this, to have been in the middle of the book of Philippians when this pandemic hit, and Paul's writing to us, Paul's encouragement to us, Paul's outlook on life while he was rotting in prison, is it's pretty powerful. And then just, to run across this and to be reading about this and to want to share it with you all, and then to realize that the next passage that we're going to hit this coming Sunday, we're going to be talking about running the race with endurance. That's just the next passage in the book of Philippians that we get to. So I don't know about you, but I kind of think there might be a God in the universe who's kind of orchestrating what Crossroads Church is studying and going through as we go through life. Perhaps. Yeah, maybe so. Y'all have any questions for Daniel? He's willing to answer anything. Ask him now. Or post them in the comments, because we have gone over my 30-minute time limit. But I'm glad we were able to hang out with y'all, and that Daniel was here to be my sidekick today. I appreciate it.
Hey, no problem.
It really does kind of get lonely sometimes sitting here live streaming. So anyway, thanks for being here. Thanks for participating. And don't forget, register. Go into the Church Center app and register for the service if you're planning to come this Sunday. Register for each of your family members that are coming. And or you can follow the link in your band app, or the email that you got today, or I'll post it in the comments, or that's it. All right. Thanks, Crossroads. I love you guys.